Short-term rentals versus flipping. Why would you do this one versus this one? In this video, I'm going to give you not one, not two, not three, but actually six tips or reasons why people choose to do short-term rentals versus flipping houses. So stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss it. When people ask me, Bethany, why do you choose to do short-term rentals instead of flipping? I always tell them, I don't do them instead of flipping, I do them on top of flipping. So one of the things that many flippers, if you have been doing residential redevelopment for any length of time, you have learned that the real estate market waxes and wanes. So sometimes we're able to cruise through and do massive amounts of flips in 1 year. Other years, it's much slimmer, like COVID, right? So things happen. And as a business owner, we need to be able to not just pivot when necessary, but prepare for and plan for that so that we have a constant influx of cash flow. So oftentimes what will happen is you go to flip a property and you get $30,000 right up front. But it took you 6 months to get those $30,000. So during that, one of the things that people often forget about is as a business owner, you must have cash flow. So if you take that $30,000 once, well, you either need to space it out and spread it out so you have it for all the months that you have other expenses, operational costs, employees, different things. Or you take it and you're using it to backfill what you borrowed against during that time. So it just depends. It's different scenarios for different strokes. But one of the things that we have done is that as a business owner, we looked to that cash flow and said, okay, how can we meet this cash flow on a regular basis? And short-term rentals is exactly how we've answered that question. With a short-term rental, you already have the benefits of a rental so that you have somebody else paying the mortgage. You have a tenant in there that's taking care of your property for the most part. But you also have another advantage. Because instead of only having $100 or $200 a month of cash flow, as a short-term rental, our lowest property is gaining $1,000 a month in cash flow. Well, times that by 12 and you've got $12,000 a year coming in, as opposed to a regular rental that might only be $200, which would only equate to $2,400 a month. So cash flow wise, I make far greater money on a short-term rental. And when you stop and think about that $30,000, then you have to stop and realize, okay, how long did this one take me? So the number one reason we do short-term rentals versus flipping was for cash flow. The number two reason is for tax savings. Now, as a rental owner, you know that you get to have depreciation and you get to amortize your property out, and you can take that against earnings in your business. But as a short-term rental, we have a whole different slew of expenses and deductions that we're able to take that allow us even greater tax savings. So especially when we're having to furnish them and sometimes renovate them, we're able to capitalize on some of that. Those tax savings add up to, again, more cash that stays in my pocket instead of it going to Uncle Sam. So although number one is cash flow, number two is keeping the cash in my pocket instead of it going to the IRS. So why a short-term rental versus a flip? Another thing that we tend to do is every single market is different. And the cost to get into a property, all of those costs of getting into the property, holding the property, renovating the property, then selling the property, those all add up, and that's all money that's got to come to the table. Then when I've actually sold it and I have my profit, I'm either one, paying that back, or I'm paying it forward to pay for operational expenses and things moving forward. So the number three thing is the need to constantly do more. If I only get one flip done, that $30,000 is going to run out. And then I have to do another one. And then I have to do another one. And then I have to do another one. And that I am constantly actively working which is why the government taxes flips at the highest level, because it's active income. On a short-term rental, it gets transitioned over to passive income because of how little work you're actually doing on it. Once we've set up our short-term rentals, we've systemized the whole process. So all of our systems are in place and everything's firing. We aren't spending time again and again and again and again. We're putting the systems in place, we're setting it all up so it's automated, and then turning around, and every single month that check comes through, it continues to come through, and we don't have to rinse and repeat and do it again and again and again. That income will keep coming through as long as we have tenants in there, just like a regular rental. So I'll still get the number 2, tax savings, but I will also no longer have the need to keep doing more and more and more and more. There is a point where it can end. So for instance, if I'm trying to replace $10,000 a month in my business or in income, and I have every rental property set up to gross a minimum of $1,000 profit, then at that point, that $1,000, I'm only gonna need 10 rentals. I don't need 50, I need 10. And those 10, every single month, will be generating the same thing as long as my systems and things are in place. And I don't have to keep doing it. I don't have to keep flipping over and over and over again. Because every year that money's gonna come right back and do it again. And it's gonna rinse and repeat all on its own. So it's much more streamlined and automated for us to do the short-term rentals versus the flips. We don't get a $30,000 check all up front. Instead, we get the slow and steady that just continues to win the race for us and continues to build out that steady stream of income. The number 4 reason that we choose to do a short-term rental versus a flip is because although a flip may gain me $30,000 or more, how many months did it take for me to get that money? How much holding time did I have? So for instance, if it's the average is 6 months, basically that is netting me $5,000 a month. So if I look at it from that perspective, $5,000 a month, and then once I'm done in month 6, I have to rinse and repeat and do it all over again. If I had 5 rentals that were netting me $1,000 each, I only have to do that one time each, and then they're done. And then it'll just keep recycling itself and regenerating. So it's much more sustainable. With the flip, every single time I have to go resource another property. I have to go renovate it, get it back out there, sell it, look at where the market's at. There's a lot more work that's involved with the flip than there is a short-term rental. Some markets, like our markets up in Washington State, are much more conducive to flips. The real estate is through the roof, but the flips are harder to get. There's a whole lot less inventory there. So in those markets, the flips are harder to get, but they're much more profitable. So we're still doing flips in those markets. In some of our other markets, Arkansas, Texas, Florida, those ones, it's easier for us to do our short-term rentals there. So we're doing those there, creating long-term passive income that will continue to sustain and continue to generate all on its own. So that once we have them set up, we don't have to keep redoing it, right? So the benefit there is a flip, I'm always gonna be working. I'm always gonna have to keep doing it. Doesn't mean we're stopping. We by all means are still renovating single family homes all across this country. But we're doing them in different markets and we're doing them with different strategies. And in doing so, it creates a constant level of cash flow for us to invest in bigger projects, in our multifamily properties, in our syndications, in our car washes, all kinds of things. The number 5 reason why we choose to do short-term rentals versus flips is because the cost. To get into a flip, on average, in our markets, it's about $80,000 for me to put my down payment down, have my holding costs, and either refinance or sell that property, and my buying costs. So about $80,000 is our average that we're seeing. That's a lot of money that we're having to tie up for one particular property. On our short-term rentals, we can get in for as little as $10,000 and get into a new property to us. We're able to possibly renovate if need be, or simply just furnish it and get it up and running and going as quickly as possible. A flip, on average, is about 6 months turnaround from the time you buy it to the time it's sold. On a short-term rental, from the time you buy it to the time it's up and listed usually is less than 30 days. So for us, it's a much faster, cleaner, smoother process on a short-term rental. The number 6 reason that people might choose to do a short-term rental versus flipping, or might choose to do a flip versus a short-term rental, may seem obvious to some, but not so obvious to others. That is appreciation. Right now, real estate is going through the roof. They're experiencing higher than normal levels of appreciation. Well, depending on if you own that short-term rental or if you're renting it, doing a rental arbitrage, you will not be experiencing appreciation at all if it's a rental arbitrage. You can experience some of that appreciation if it is a property that you own and you're using as a short-term rental. But as a flip, when you're only owning them for 6 months, you're not going to see that appreciation generally in 6 months. You may see it in a year. So if it's a really long flip, it takes you a very, very long time. You might see it in a year. You might even see it if something happens and your project goes completely sideways, like a friend of ours. He held his property for 3 years, not intentionally, but in doing so, the market went so crazy. Instead of losing almost $700,000, he profited almost $700,000 just in appreciation. So appreciation is the number 6 reason why people choose to do short-term rentals versus flipping, is because as a flip, you get no appreciation. It really doesn't translate. If the short-term rental is one that you're buying and holding, then you definitely will be able to take advantage of that appreciation. If it's a rental arbitrage, you will not. If you're interested in learning more about how to do short-term rentals or corporate rentals, and you're eager to learn, but you want to learn hands-on, you want to learn from somebody who's experienced, who's been doing it for quite a while, and is clearly making a profit and a living at it. If that's the case, you're going to want to click on the link below. When you do, you're going to find a time on our calendar that works for you to meet with us. And we'll connect you with ways that you can learn. Whether you're a book learner who would rather learn through a training module, or whether you're a hands-on learner who wants to dive right in and wants to start doing and learning that way. Education, there's always a price to our education, but the price is whether or not we're willing to pay it and whether or not we're willing to get those returns. So if that's you and you're willing to learn how to do this, or you're interested in making money in short-term rentals passively, don't want to do any of the work, you just want to make the money passively on the short-term rental side, if that's you, you're going to want to click on the link below. Schedule a time to get on a call with us, and when you do, we'll tell you about all the different opportunities in the short-term rental space that are available to you for as little as $10,000 of an investment. That investment is clearly paid back to you every single time with a return. So you have your choice. Learn and gain all that knowledge and experience while getting paid. Just invest passively, take advantage of the great returns. Don't worry about learning and just keep rinsing and repeating. It's just your choice, just like corporate short-term rentals versus flipping. You make the decision as to what is right for you and your business. So if it's going to be right for you, click on the link below, set up a time to meet with us. We'll be happy to talk with you on a quick 20-minute consultation, absolutely free, and present opportunities, and you decide what's right for you. No pressure. Have a great day. Bye for now.